I know, Barbara, you'll turn your camera on before, there we go. We still got about 5 minutes.
I'm still trying to sign into PrimeGov.
Okay. So if
Laura, Laura, I show that we need one more commissioner to have quorum.
No, we only need 5.
We need one more to sign into PrimeGov.
Okay,
Yeah,
Dana, are you in PrimeGov?
I think so. I think it's Barbara trying to get in.
Yeah, I'm
John
the one who
Thompson?
cannot get in. I cannot get in.
Okay, John Thompson?
PrimeGov, we have Brian, John, Dana, and Jonathan. We do not have Barbara, and we do not have Michelle. Now, I just got an email from the city clerk's office that PrimeGov is running very slow today. And if we need to, we may just do a voice vote for the people who can't get logged into PrimeGov. We only have 2 items on the agenda, well, 3 with the minutes, but we only have 1 item on consent docket and 1 on cases for individual consideration. So if we can't get people logged in, we can just go ahead and start when it's time to start and do a voice vote for the people who cannot vote in PrimeGov. As long as you're on Zoom and you're participating and we can hear you and see you, that's acceptable.
Okay, Katie, so Scott isn't in there yet and Gloria is not in there yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in. This is Scott. I'm trying to get in, but it's really slow I can't get past the login screen.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
took
this
me
is
a
Michelle.
long
I
time.
finally got past it.
I show Commissioner Torres is logged into PrimeGov.
Yay.
And we have our newest member who just came into Zoom, Ricardo Montoya. Everybody wave at Ricardo.
Hey, Ricardo.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
Okay, Katie, this is Barbara.
Yes.
If we have a few seconds, I'm logged in. My name is in the corner. I have Riverfront Design Committee and the seal on my screen.
Okay. So go up to the top where it says meetings and committees and click that little orange down arrow. And then select live meeting.
I did that and it's blank, but maybe it's because it's slow.
Okay.
Good morning. Sorry, I had my volume down. I had a phone call, but it was extremely slow getting into PrimeGov. I don't know if that's something you guys have been discussing, but every step took a very long time to load up.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm there, finally.
Okay. And let's see.
Katie, I see Commissioners Howard and Commissioner Dean in PrimeGov.
All right. So Barbara, did it take you to where it lists the meetings?
And I clicked on today's meeting and now it's spinning again.
Okay. Well, hopefully that lets you in here in just a second. There, I see you in PrimeGov, Barbara, and I see Ricardo. Yay.
Mr. Chair, this is your admin coordinator. It is now 8:59. You have quorum.
Perfect timing. Is there anyone, any commissioners that are on the meeting who have not logged into PrimeGov that will need to do a voice vote until they get logged in?
As of right now, it looks like everyone is logged into PrimeGov. When we get to the point of voting, we'll see if it continues to be slow, and then we can always switch over to a voice vote if that's causing a delay. But right now, it looks like everyone's in both, logged in on both systems.
Wonderful. Now that it's 9 o'clock and we have a quorum, we will begin. Welcome to the April 1, 2021 meeting of the Riverfront Design Committee. This meeting is being held by video conference. My name is John Postick, and I am the chair of the committee. No physical location will be provided for the RDC meeting. The meeting will instead be live streamed from remote locations. We want to request that everyone joining us today, except committee members, keep your mic or phone muted until you are called on to speak. As instructed in the agenda, those who called or emailed us in advance to let us know your name, contact number, and agenda item you wish to speak about will be recognized first. Before the RDC votes on each item, I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. When your name is called, you will need to unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone or pressing the unmute icon on the computer. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. When I ask if anyone from the public wants to speak on an item and you didn't provide your information in advance of the meeting, please raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone or select the raise hand icon on your computer. When your name is called, you will need to unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone or pressing the unmute icon on the computer. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. For anyone speaking today, including committee members, please identify yourself when you begin to speak. Citizens may address the committee on agenda items by responding to the chair's call for speakers during discussion on each item. All comments must be relevant to the item. The chair or presiding officer may, in his or her discretion, prohibit a person from addressing the committee and/or remove that person from the video conference if that person commits any disorderly or disruptive behavior, which includes, without limitation, any of the following: speaking without being recognized by the chair or presiding officer, continuing to speak after notice that the speaker's allotted time has expired, presenting comments or material not relevant to the item under discussion, failing to comply with the lawful instructions of the chair or presiding officer, engaging in other conduct, activity, or speech that delays, disrupts, or interferes with the effective or timely conduct of the meeting. Citizens cannot submit documents via video conference meetings. If we lose our connection for this meeting, the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the next regularly scheduled Riverfront Design Committee meeting on Thursday, May 6th, 2021 at 9 a.m. by video conference. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/public/portal. Before we get started, I would like to recognize a new member, Ricardo Montoya, who replaces John Joyce. Welcome. Mark, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Postick.
Present.
Commissioner Heisel.
Present.
Commissioner Dean.
Present.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Present.
Commissioner Howard.
Present.
Commissioner Larson.
Present.
Commissioner Montoya.
Present.
Commissioner Templeton.
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Present.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call. You have quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda is approval of minutes from the December 3rd, 2020 meeting. Would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Can we repeat the names of the people that made the motions, please? And second, this is Laura. Just to help Mark out. He's a newbie.
Jonathan Heisel, motion to approve. There we go.
Scott
There, I
Howard,
think-
second.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess I clicked too fast and I
Yeah.
approved it.
We will get it fixed. So this motion was
There.
moved by Jonathan Heisel, Mark, not Dana. Is that something that we can get fixed?
Working on it.
Katie, I am not seeing Commissioner Heisel in the role.
Well, okay, so what we have asked in the past is that they're identifying who's making the motion in the second. Staff is clicking those buttons for them. And once we've clicked those, then the overall screen panel comes up. Unfortunately, committee member Templeton clicked too early, so she came in as the person that made the motion. So,
This is Katie. Mark, we can manually correct this later for the minute.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and call for the vote.
The vote is open.
Okay.
and at this point, I'm gonna have to, I don't know why John Joyce is still showing up. It's showing that Barbara Larson didn't vote for that one. And we will need to take a verbal vote from Ricardo Montoya on the minute since he does not have the ability to vote.
Commissioner Montoya, how do you vote, sir?
Approved.
Thank you, sir.
Heisel approved as well. It's not showing me and giving me the option to vote.
Okay, I don't know why you're not in the system. That is very strange. And it's showing, Brian, it's showing you.
Yeah, I don't know. I was not in attendance. It's so I can either abstain or I know sometimes I've read all of it, so I'm voting in favor. So
This is Katie. Mark, let's go ahead and just do a roll call vote for the full committee since it seems like some people's voting is not working correctly, just so that we get an accurate record.
Commissioner Postic,
Approved. Yes.
Commissioner Heisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Dougherty,
yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
I abstain. I was not at the meeting.
Commissioner Montoya,
Approved. I was not at the meeting. Qualify that statement.
Commissioner Templeton,
Approved. Yay.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes, and I do want to, in case anybody doesn't know, today is April Fool's. So this is OKC Prime Gov's way of getting us.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Great. Item 3, cases withdrawn, none. Item 4, continuance requests, none. Item 5, consent docket. Item 5A, SRCA-19-00015R1 at 21 Southeast 17th Street. Laura, could you tell us about this?
I'm sorry, I was talking and my mute wasn't on. We have this on consent. It's for painting several murals at Manuel Perez Park. If I could, it's murals on containers, murals at the skate park, as well as murals on the bathroom structure. If anyone wants to pull it for more discussion, that is your right to do that. We do have both the applicant and the owner represented with participants today.
Okay. Would any commissioners like to pull this item for discussion?
I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on that, please. This is Gloria.
Okay, this is Laura, Greg's Planning Department. Real quickly, you might recall that when we did the and Cameron, you can kind of go through it to the end where we actually see the murals, because I've added that application at the end. When we did the overall CA for the park, the containers were shown that are, you're seeing them on the screen now, that are located under Shield Boulevard, but they didn't have the artwork determined at that time. And it was indicated that they would be coming back with it. This is a 1% for art project. And so they're going to be coming in and basically wrapping the containers with artwork. There are 4 artists that were listed in the documentation. We do have Randy Marks from the planning department represented on this call that can answer questions, as well as Brandon Boydston, who is representing the Parks Department on behalf of the owner. The bathroom structure was approved administratively. It was a prefab structure. If you've gone by there, you can see that the containers have been tagged. The bathroom has been tagged. The skate park has periodically been tagged through the life of the skate park. So I think the painting of the murals will give some ownership, I do believe, to the users of that. And my personal belief is once you have the murals on there, they're not going to get tagged as much because there's some respect among the artists once things are painted. So I think they've gotten very creative with the skate park about where they're going to add the color in the artwork. And the handout has some very accurate mock-ups of how things are going to look. And so, Committee Member Torres, if you're wanting to say something, you're muted. I know you're the one that wanted this pulled, but I just, I can continue talking, or we can turn this over to Randy for him to answer any questions or.
So I know we've been highly engaged in the Manuel Perez Park, both the design and the naming of it. And that was absolutely a concern, was the amount of graffiti that was resulting in some of the elements of the park. I am interested in learning about how did we identify the artist and who are the artists that were selected to do the murals.
Cameron, can you continue on? Yeah, thank you. And we have Randy Marks, who can probably best address those questions from Committee Member Torres.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and talk about this beautiful project. This is a 1% for art project. The art award is $41,000 for any project that's $25,000 and more. We announced the call to artists in BidSync, so it's effectively open to anybody in the world that wants to apply for it. We had a number of submissions that went through the selection process, and the team led by Chris Canale, including Carlos Barboza, Tony Thunder, and Jose Scott, was chosen for this particular project. And I can tell you why. It's because they absolutely put their heart into their presentation and into the design. They went totally over the top. They gave more than what we asked for, as a matter of fact. And it really shows in what they ended up proposing. I'm really proud of them. So in the RFQ, the applicants had the option of naming an apprentice artist. We stated a preference. We can't state it as an outright requirement, but we stated a preference that the artist choose an apprentice who lives within a close geographic area to the park. And they did that. They were one of the few that actually did that ahead of time. Jose Scott lives close by. He has been doing some murals for a while, but still considers himself to be an apprentice artist. He's going to get a lot of good experience and exposure on this. And this is exactly the kind of outcome that we wanted to see. So let's see where we are right now. They were approved by council on the 30th. And we're just in all the permitting stage right now. They intend to start, if we have all permits in place, they intend to start painting next week. And they will take about a month and a half to finish up. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about this. I can talk endlessly, so I feel like it might be better to get a question and then make that a little bit more directed for you.
Thank you for the information. I think you guys did an awesome job of identifying a wonderful team. And I love that you put the preference in there for somebody to be from the neighborhood. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Ms. Torres.
Are there any other comments or questions from committee members?
This is Scott Howard. I think it looks great. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Me too.
Okay. Hearing none and considering the item is on a consent docket, we will move along as this item is approved.
And so just to clarify, and legal can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was pulled for discussion. So we'll need an official motion to approve in a second. Is that correct? Municipal Councilor McDivitt?
Yes, we need a motion and a second, and then we will need either a roll call vote or a vote through PrimeGov to approve.
Thank you for keeping me in line. So are there motions to approve? Is there a motion to approve this item?
I make the motion to approve. Scott Howard.
And it looks like Committee Member Doherty.
Correct.
Are you making a second? That'll keep up with what has been clicked.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can see that, but my voting button is not available, so I'm voting yes as well. This is Jonathan Heisel.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ricardo Montoya. I don't have a voting button, but if we're voting, then I approve or yes.
So
Thank you,
Mark,
Commissioner.
can I just ask for you to go ahead and do a voice vote, please, of all the members?
Commissioner Postic,
Yes.
Commissioner Heisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Dougherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yay.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Okay. Item number 6, cases for individual consideration. Item 6A, SRCA-21-00005 at 901 Southeast 5th Street. Laura, can you tell us about this project?
Thank you. Laura Griggs, Planning Department. So some of you have probably seen some articles the last year or so about an exciting proposal down in the Boathouse District. And it is called Bar K, and it's a indoor-outdoor dog park with a bar and a restaurant and event space. So it's down at the eastern edge, as you can tell from this drawing right here, which is a good one to look at, immediately north of the Whitewater facility. And the most recent thing you all saw was the rezoning to PUD, that most of you were on the committee when this occurred. And the PUD requires that any project within 100 foot of the river. Okay, stop on that one, Cameron, because we're going to jump to that here in a minute. Any project within 100 foot of the river has to come to the committee, and which is why you're seeing this, because it is on the canal that's adjacent to the river. You might have noticed in the staff report, there really were no design-related issues, no guidelines, no regulations that I even had to bring up in the staff report. The only issue deals with this boat ramp, which is why I had Cameron stop, and I wanted to just kind of point out where it is. If you are on 40 and you're getting on I-35, you can kind of look down, even though it's kind of dangerous if you're driving. So if you're a passenger, look down, and you can see where this boat ramp is. And so Cameron, you can continue on through the slides. And so what you found in the staff report is the property where the boat ramp is actually owned by DOT. And it's just a small rectangle. And it is where DOT and the boathouse district launch boats. DOT is how they get out there to inspect the underneath sides of the bridge. You might have seen, we're going to see that here in a minute. Once we jump from, I think it's going to be on the next one, and I'm going to have Cameron stop. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. So when this first came in, it was all one phase, and they were showing that they,
I apologize for interrupting, but I think we're going to need to pause the meeting for a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind.
no problem.
This is Katie. We're going to recess till 9:30 to address a meeting posting issue. So if you all want to mute yourselves, and we'll reconvene in about 7 minutes here.
Okay.
This is Laura in the planning department. Committee members, it is now 9:30. We had a posting issue. So we are basically restarting the meeting, approving the minutes again, approving the item pulled from consent, and then I will resume my presentation on the Boathouse District item. We're going to be doing voice votes for everything since we have a problem with not everybody's name being shown out there. Municipal Counselor, is it okay to restart the meeting? I just want to make sure that Ms. McDevitt's back with us on this.
Yes, I am here.
Okay, is it okay for us to restart the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, Chair, it's all yours.
Do I need to reread the script that was read at the beginning of the meeting?
I need to defer to legal. Do we need to reread that script or not?
I would just announce the procedures regarding reconvening in the event that we're disconnected.
Okay. Then in that case, I will reconvene the April 1 meeting of the Riverfront Design Committee. If we lose our connection for this meeting, the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the next regularly scheduled Riverfront Design Committee meeting on Thursday, May 6th, 2021 at 9:00 a.m. by video conference. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/public/portal. Laura, do we need to recall the attendance?
Yes.
Okay, Mark.
So
would
Mark,
you please
yes,
call the roll?
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Postic,
Present.
Commissioner Heisel. Commissioner Heisel,
Present.
Commissioner Dean,
Present.
Commissioner Dougherty,
Present.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Larson,
Present.
Commissioner Montoya,
Present.
Commissioner Templeton,
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Present.
Mr. Chair, that completes the roll call. The motion passes.
We have a quorum.
Correction,
Yes.
you have quorum.
Wonderful. Item 2 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Is there any discussion of the minutes, or would anyone like to make a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the minutes. Jonathan Heisel.
This is Gloria. I'll second.
We will be doing a voice vote on all of our motions today. So Mark, if you could please do that.
Thank you, Laura. Commissioner Postic,
Yes.
Commissioner Heisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Dougherty,
Abstain.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Abstain.
Commissioner Montoya,
Abstain.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 3, cases withdrawn, none. Item 4, continuance requests, none. Item 5, consent docket. Item 5A, SRCA-19-00015R1 at 21 Southeast 17th Street. This item was pulled for discussion. So do we need to re-vote on it?
Yes, we need a new motion and a second, and then a voice vote.
Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to vote on this item.
This is Gloria. I'll submit the motion for approval.
Scott Howard, the second.
Commissioner Postic,
Yes.
Commissioner Heisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Dougherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Great. Item 6, case this for individual consideration. Item 6A, SRCA-21-00005 at 901 Southeast 5th Street. Laura, can you give us a information on this?
Sure, no problem. And Cameron, if you will scroll on down to the overall site plan, which is the one we stopped on, that one right there. As you can tell from your staff report, there are no guideline or regulation issues with this project. The only issue that we have resulted in this project, and I apologize for the feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from right now. Dana, do you mind putting the mute on yours? I'm not saying it's your computer. I'm just. Okay, so we'll try this again. Hopefully I am not muted. I unmute. Okay. We divided this project into 2 phases because of the boat ramp. You can see the small rectangle where it says existing canal entry on the screen in front of you. That is a boat ramp that the city put in. The property is owned by DOT and used by DOT in the Boathouse District. The original proposal when it came in, that entire area was going to be fenced and included in the overall perimeter fencing for the outdoor dog part of this, which was going to prohibit any access to the boat ramp. Because of that, we have split it into 2 phases. Both phases are being presented to you today. And we have a recommendation that is in the report that I'll go over here in a minute. Phase 1 is the location of the buildings and the streetscape, as well as the paved parking area that they're putting in. Phase 2 is the outdoor dog park. It also includes some containers that they're going to be using for different features out within the dog park area. Staff, as I said, really had no issues with this. The materials meet all our requirements. It meets the PUD document. The PUD document allows containers to be used. We've got landscaping coming in. They're actually providing paved parking. They're only required to pave the handicap parking spaces, but they're paving additional spaces, which is great, even though they're not required to do that. I will note that Cameron, if you want to kind of scroll on down to the elevations, which starts on page 11, we got the west elevation that shows up. There's some signs, and there's no issues with the size of the signs that they've got. The next slide is the south elevation. And just for your information, there isn't a problem with the signage, but the K where the 12s are, those are considered signs. That's part of Bar K. There isn't an issue. It meets within the 18% of the wall area that's allowed in signage. The next one is the north elevation. And then the next one is the east elevation. And then they provided some renderings, which if we could go to the third rendering, which is an overview, looking to the southwest. What I will point out is the mural looking circle on the right there on the building. That is not part of your approval. if they're proposing any type of a mural, it will come back. But I mean, that is just showing that they do have room for that there. But as I said, that isn't part of your approval. So what you're looking at essentially is when you look at the buildings, and then you can kind of see there's some outdoor areas and there's some fencing that's going around it. That's all part of what phase 1 is. So everything toward the river from that area would be phase 2. So you can see in the staff report that staff is recommending approval of the project. We have 2 items for your that we're requesting you vote on. One is to approve phase 1, and we have the standard wording that we use. The second one is for you to refer phase 2, which is the outdoor dog park area, and there are some containers that are included in that area. Refer that to staff for administrative approval, with the condition that the applicant provides the information regarding resolution of the boat ramp access issue prior to issuance of the administrative approval for phase 2. That way they don't have to come back to committee, which could further delay the project. We have several people in this meeting today. We have a representative from the Boathouse District. We have 2 of the architects of the project. I believe we have a gentleman who is involved with the Barquet ownership, as well as a local representative of the local developer that are here. I'm not sure who among that group is wanting to speak, but Chair, I've been indicated in front of their name. As you can see, item 6A, I would imagine we have the architects. Probably Chrissy is wanting to speak, but do the committee members have any questions for me at this point? Absent none, what I'm going to suggest is, Chrissy, can you unmute yourself? And
absolutely.
Will you be starting the presentation for the design team?
I will, yes.
Okay. Chair, do you have any objection for them to start their presentation?
I do not. Please go ahead.
And Chrissy, if there's any of the slides that you want us to go back to, you can tell me, you know, like what page of your handout it is, and Cameron's real good at finding those things for us.
Sure. Would you happen to go back to the site plan that shows phasing? Great. So thanks everyone for your time this morning. As Laura did a great intro, Barquet will be a new location for a concept that was already established in Kansas City and has proven to be really successful for the area.
Chrissy, could you identify yourself and who you're with, please?
Oh, absolutely. My name is Chrissy Rogers. I'm an architect with Arcturus. We're the design and technical architect for the project, working with Barquet and the development team to bring this project to Oklahoma City. So from a program perspective, the project will be, as Laura mentioned, a state-of-the-art dog park. The outdoor space consists of about 2 acres worth of park, with then a full structure on the interior of just under 20,000 square feet. It will be new construction consisting of a kind of a wide span structure that will house a 9,000 square foot indoor dog park with restaurant and bar space to support that. If you want to go to the floor plan slides, I believe that's the next one. Let's see. It was page 7 of our submission. There we go. So what you can see on the north side of the plan here is the indoor dog park that I was just referencing, with the restaurant space at the lower portion of the structure, and with a wraparound outdoor patio that's labeled as number 1. And then the dog park to the east, right up against the canal. If you go to the next slide, The second floor is entirely outdoor space with the exception of, a pop-up for the stairs and elevator enclosure with an outdoor deck space that overlooks the river. And then also the river to the south, and then also will overlook the dog park to the north. As Laura mentioned, phase 2 will be the remaining portion of the site plan, which we have been in discussions with the city to provide access for the canal, given the ramp that's there, but still also be able to provide the full extent of the park that will work for the development. And then if you want to go to the next one. So what this page is showing is the series of materials that we've pulled for the project. We are using an integrated metal and roof wall panel to get a really consistent look for the building to create a nice clean aesthetic that will align with the rest of the developments in the area around the river sport. We do have some perforated metal, which will provide some screening of mechanical as well as allowing some light into the structure. A lot of glass to let light in as well. And then in the roof areas and the clear story portions of the structure, we will be using that clear story or that cowl wall or translucent wall panel to really let some filtered light into the structure. Barcade does have already a nice branded palette, which is what you can see on the bottom left. We are taking sort of the more neutral tones with the white and the darker blue as the primary building materials, but then kind of pulling in their brand colors as some accent tones. You can go to the next one. This is a sampling of materials you'll see on the exterior. The picture on the top left is an image of a container that they have in Kansas City. Given that the project is primarily oriented to dogs, once you're inside of the park, there isn't a lot of natural landscaping, as it's just very challenging to keep that stuff alive, as well as it could pose some hazard for the animals. So once you're in the park, we have a lot of artificial turf, some pea gravel and mulch, as well as the black fencing to provide security for the animals. We do provide landscaping on the outboard or the kind of externally visible portion of the facility. So we did a site plan that does add up to the points that are required from a landscaping perspective. And if you want to go to the next one. And this plan here starts to show that landscaping I was just referencing, with trees lining the street fronts, as well as infilling the islands in the parking lot, some ground cover throughout. But this also does demonstrate the breakdown in terms of phases, as well as the proximity to the canal. If you want to keep going. I think Laura did a good job of discussing these elevations, and really these do start to come more to life once we get to the three-dimensional view. So I think you can skip through the next couple images. And this is kind of the main view from the front as you're pulling east into that cul-de-sac. You can see we have, the large dog park as the gabled structure on the west or the north side of this, on the left of this rendering, with the integrated signage on the building. And then we're penetrating that large volume with a modern kind of simple box that will house the restaurant space. The perforated portion that you can see where those two buildings come together is where we're intending to house the mechanical equipment, but that will be screened so that it's really, not visible to the public. If you want to go to the next one. This is a shot of the interior. This is the entry right when you walk in. You can see the Barcade reception with some branding around it. And then to the left of this view is the indoor dog park with that nice translucent glazing, bringing in some filtered light. And the next one. And then, as Laura mentioned, this is the view really kind of the back of the development, looking sort of, if you're hovering above the canal. But this is the area that we're still reviewing, is really where that canal comes in. But the way that this park works is that it's set up as a series of kind of entertainment nodes or gathering spaces, with that central focus being a stage or a platform for events, with a container behind that that will house some restrooms. And then you can see on the structure itself, we are trying to capitalize on the views both to the river, whitewater area, and then also views back towards the dog park so that, patrons of the facility can really get kind of that almost 360 view of the area that surrounds.
And this is Laura, if I might, Chrissy. What I'll point out here is right in the center, you will see where the fence goes across that boat ramp area. And so this is the area of concern because this was their original proposal, which would have blocked off the access to that. So that is the area, let's say, of the white concrete. That is the area where we've got to get some resolution that could result in something a little different. I'm not really sure yet. But we're asking that you allow staff to work with them on that for that resolution. But I just wanted to mention that while we were on this view.
Sure. And I think that about wraps up what we have to add to what Laura already started us off with, but we're happy to open or answer questions.
This is Scott Howard. On the phase 2 area, the turf, I think you mentioned it's synthetic turf.
Correct.
What are your plans for keeping that clean? I know a lot of dog parks that I've seen are highly overused. What are you proposing?
Labe, are you able to unmute and answer that one? So Labe is the owner of Barquet and the original founder, so he can speak to that if he's able to unmute.
Okay.
And I think he's unmuted, but if you could identify yourself, please, and spell your name so that we can get it correctly for the person that's keeping the record. Thank you.
Yes, happy to. This is Labe Dodell. It's a tough one, so it's LEIBDODELL. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you this morning. So, Mr. Howard, it is reclaimed sports field turf. Repurposing is a big part of what we try to do at Barquet. And so in Kansas City, we've been operating we opened in August of 2018. So 2.5 years, we've had over 400,000 dogs pass through the space, and we use the same product. We use a reclaimed high school sports field turf. We have a protocol for keeping it clean. We use a product called Odoban, which can be pumped into it's kind of a backpack power washing device, if you can picture that. And the staff are diligent about cleaning it. We have the area divided into zones, and we rotate through on a weekly basis to make sure all of the area is cleaned with this product, which is a antibacterial product. And then, of course, that's in addition to spot cleaning when there are messes, which there are with that volume of dogs, as you can imagine, quite frequently.
Yeah.
So I think we do a fairly thorough job of keeping both the outdoor and the indoor spaces clean and sanitized.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Larson. I have a question about that. Does that antibacterial flush into, or will it be directed toward the water? And will it affect the water quality?
Well, thank you for the question. I am not qualified to answer that from an engineering standpoint. Chrissy, I don't know whether you have thoughts on that or any of the folks from the Boathouse District.
So Commissioner Larson, we are still working through the civil engineering portion of the project, but I can only imagine that we will be ahead of that, as we would generally not want to put any additional waste or products into the existing waterway. So I don't have a definitive answer around that question, but it's certainly something that we can expedite getting a response to.
This is Laura, and I am not an expert, so I'm not really specifically addressing that, other than to say, you might or might not know the city has an ordinance that prohibits swimming in the river. And one of the main reasons we have that ordinance is because all the chemicals that are already in the river, because of everything that is already draining into the river, like the stockyards and all of that other stuff. So I'm only saying this because, not that we want to add anything additional to it, but this is not a clean water area. And I would imagine that anything draining into it would have to be addressed in some fashion through the development process. And I'm sure it is something that our Parks Department also has to address in certain things. And I know the Parks Department is involved in this, and I'm sure it will be resolved as it goes through the process.
I have a question for Chrissy.
And just as, and we have a hand raised, Mr. Knopf, Mike Knopf, and so I just wanted to point that out to the chair after you finish speaking. I just don't want to ignore that we have someone who wants to speak here.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Laura.
Yeah, no problem.
My question is brief. It was mentioned that the civil engineering is still being worked out. Chrissy, can you tell us if the intent is to drain, say in a rainstorm event, is the intent to grade the site so that water drains into the river or drains toward the street into storm drains?
I cannot speak definitively to that, but as a general rule, we like to try to contain all of our site drainage, to our site and take it direct to the, subgrade stormwater. So I apologize, we're not quite to that portion yet, but that is something that I would imagine that we will be draining away from the river. That being said, the site does slope directly to the canal on the northeast side. So there may be some challenges there with collecting. So I would like to defer to the civil engineering team, who unfortunately is not on this call.
Okay. I'd like to recognize Mike Knopf.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Knopf, Executive Director here at Riversport. Well, of course, we're very excited about Parquet finally coming into the Boathouse District. And, the fact that we are a riverfront site, that's very appealing to them. And the fact that we do have a water access area is also appealing. I hear the issue of water quality come up, and I just feel like I need to address that. There is regular testing that goes on, and I think sometimes it's easy for people, to just say the water's dirty. It's an urban river, and I want to be careful with the optics on that. And that is, the river is an urban river, and it's all, the water quality is really dictated and is tied to runoff and rainfall events. And the study or the testing that's done really does illustrate that on a normal day when there's not any rainfall events, that generally the water is in acceptable norms. And in fact, I want the public and everyone to understand, we have people, hundreds of people on the water every day in boats, in kayaks, getting splashed. They're not swimming, but people do fall in. It's very safe. And so I just want to be clear that this is not a dangerous situation to have people, or dogs, swimming in the river. If there was to be a rainfall event, a heavy rainfall event, that's something certainly we pay attention to. But we have not had any issues with regard to the activities that do go on the river, and testing is done on a regular basis. So,
thank you for that clarification.
This is Jonathan Heisel. I had a question regarding the south elevation and the wall or partial wall. I was curious how tall that was for that second floor seating area. I think there's an opportunity to watch what's going on in the river and the water sports area, and didn't know how tall that wall was. Looks like it's kind of protecting or hiding the seating area.
The wall directly above, that's kind of creating a guardrail for people up there. So that's 42 inches, which is standard height for ADA.
42 inches, okay. But that's not opaque or anything. It's a solid wall, right?
That is a solid wall, yes.
And there's a drop off I saw on a rendering, but it's not on the plan view. Is that drop off on the south side of off of 4th Street? planned or not planned, or what's the status on that?
Are you, this is Laura, are you referring to, Cameron, go to the main entry, which is, go back to pages.
Or Fifth Street, I'm sorry, not Fourth, Fifth.
Yeah, so we want to go to page 15.
That one.
So are you referring to the set-in parking spaces that you're seeing?
That's correct. It's not
Okay.
on the site
It
plan.
isn't. They are not going to have set-in parking spaces. That was one of the questions I asked them. This rendering had that. They clarified for me that they're not proposing to do set-in parking spaces, but I didn't make them redo their rendering. So it will have a consistent curb and no set-in parking spaces as you're seeing.
So all those trees will be there. Okay.
Yes.
And then my last question is a little further east. There is an enclosure, trash enclosure, dumpster enclosure, and didn't know if there was conversation about it being on the northeast of the parking lot rather than right there on the street frontage.
The only thing I brought up was the material, and so it appears that it's going to be see-through, but it's not. They're going to have site-proof screening, which is what is required. I didn't ask them if they were willing to move it, but so Chrissy, if you could, I don't know if you guys considered moving it ever having it on the north side of the building, or if you had it where it was proposed so that the trucks wouldn't be driving through on that pavement, which is, I forgot the name of that street that's in there.
Sure. There were a couple of reasons for the location where we selected, the first being proximity to the kitchen space, that it is, right there on that south elevation. So that'll be the quickest and easiest way to get waste out without kind of dragging it through the building and the parking lot. And then also, if you go to the site plan, which on your document, I'm not sure. This one will work just fine. You can see at the north end of the building, we show a couple of gates. You can see kind of a black bar. That is a private, well, not private, but that is a potentially an outdoor event space that's slightly separated from the rest of the park. So we didn't necessarily want to interfere with potential, smaller events occurring in that area, but it is certainly something that could be considered. And also we do have a consistent exterior metal panel planned for that enclosure. So it will, look consistent with the structure that it's adjacent to. So we hadn't considered it, but I would say it's, something that wouldn't totally damage the development if it was required.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
This is Commissioner Templeton. I may have more of a comment than a question, but there will be other items going in that dumpster enclosure other than food from the kitchen. Am I correct?
Yes.
Like waste from the visitors.
Leigh, do you want to speak to how waste is handled on the site? Animal waste.
Yeah, well, first of all, Commissioner Templeton, you are correct that our guests will be leaving waste and we will be cleaning it and it will be going into that dumpster. So I take it that your point is that odors and other factors may not make that the most ideal location. So I think it's something, Chrissy, that we should take a look at. Chrissy is right that, proximity to the kitchen was the main driver of placement of that. Just operationally, the kitchen, I think you can see where the kitchen is located, sort of in that structure just to the left of where the dumpster is located. Also, the area on the north side of the building that Chrissy was referring to is called Pet Finder Park. And it not only is it where we have events, but it's where we will hold adoption events every weekend. We have a separate space where we invite local rescue organizations to bring adoptable dogs in, and that event is held in that area just to the north of the building. But we will look at the best location for those dumpsters. We're also exploring possible composting solutions for the dog waste that we create, because we create quite a volume of it, as you can imagine, and we haven't executed that yet, but it's something we're hoping to be able to do in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell.
And this is Commissioner Larson. I have one further question. The light poles that are on the site material sheet, are those prototype for Barkay, or are those in concert with what's in our area here?
So those are a consistent fixture to what you have in the area. They do also happen to aesthetically complement, our structure. So they worked well nicely together.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other comments or questions from committee members? Hearing none, I would welcome a motion on this item.
This is Commissioner Templeton. I would like to make a motion to refer the voting on phase 2 to staff for administrative review once the resolution for the boat ramp has been addressed.
If I might, just to make things maybe less confusing, were you wanting to do that because you weren't agreeing with the recommendation for phase 1?
No, this is for phase 2. You had suggested that we make a recommendation for that.
Oh, well, at the last page of the staff report, there was you're going to need to vote on both phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay.
And
this is phase 1.
So so why don't we start with phase 1 just so we don't lose sight of that, and
then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve phase 1 as it stands.
Can I request on the basis that the project complies? Do you have that up, or were you not able to get that?
Consideration and possible action. Let's see. To approve SRCA 21-00005 as shown on the agenda item. Is that going to work?
So I know you're having trouble downloading the staff report, and so the standard wording that we normally have, and I have that in there, and Chair, if you don't object, I'm just going to read what it says.
I do not object.
Okay, and Committee Member Templeton, you could agree with what I read or add to it. That our staff's recommendation was to approve the application for phase 1 on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Scenic River Overlay Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C of the staff report. Is that the wording that you were looking for when you were wanting to make your motion?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Griggs. I would like to make a motion based on what Ms. Griggs has just stated.
This is Gloria. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any motion in a second?
We're going to be doing a voice vote. Pay no attention to the motions and seconds that are showing up on your screen. So we have a motion by Committee Member Templeton, and we have a second by Committee Member Torres. Mark, would you please do a voice vote of everybody on that one, please?
Yes, Laura. Commissioner Postic.
Yes.
Commissioner Heisel.
Yes.
Commissioner Dean.
Yes.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Larson.
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya.
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you.
We now need a motion on phase 2, and I do have some recommended wording in the staff report.
Would anyone like to make a motion regarding phase 2 of this application?
And if anybody needs me to read that recommended wording, I'll be glad to do that for you.
This is Commissioner Larson. I would like to make a motion to refer phase 2 to staff for administrative approval with the condition that the applicant provides the information regarding resolution of the boat ramp access issue prior to issuance of the administrative approval for phase 2.
Scott Howard, second.
We have a motion and a second, and can I request the Mark that you do a voice vote on that one as well, please?
Thank you, Laura. Commissioner Postic,
Yes.
Commissioner Heisel, Commissioner Heisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Templeton,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that completes the vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who has come to present and speak on this item. Agenda item number 7, other business. There is none. Item number 8, communications. Laura, do you have anything that we need to know?
There were, you haven't met since December, and since December, there were 6 administrative approvals. If anyone has any questions about any of them, I'd be glad to answer those questions.
Okay. Hearing none. Comments from planning department staff. Laura, anything else?
Thank you all for being here today. Sorry for the confusion about your Zoom meeting emails, that some came, some didn't, and we're trying to get the bugs worked out of that. The meetings are set up differently. You guys are panelists. That's why we see your bright and shiny faces. And that's why you need those specific logins. Those logins are not going to change. They're going to be the same every time. So if you actually save those on your Outlook calendar, they'll be there, or you print them out and stick them in your notebook, you'll have them. We had a change of staff, which resulted in the original one that got sent out got canceled. And so then there's the new one, and you guys didn't have that one yet. So we were scrambling around trying to get that resolved today. So thank you for your patience. And thank you for your patience on the issue we had with the time that got kind of messed up on something. So we had to kind of kickstart our meeting. And I thought, Katie, there was something else we were talking about that we wanted to, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know.
This is Katie. I think it was just the Zoom webinar information that, as Laura said, that login information and that link that is your unique panelist link will be the same for all of our future virtual meetings. That's not going to change. So if you can save that in a place, then you won't have to search through your inbox for that email each time. It'll just be the same every time you go to that same link and use that same access. So that's the only thing. If you, for some reason, did not get one of those reminder emails prior to this meeting, or if you would like us to use a different email and send that to you, please follow up with Laura and let us know, and we can get that changed. But we'd rather do that, in advance of the meeting as far as we can than at the last minute. So let us know if you're not getting those links and connections. We had a slow PrimeGov day today. City Clerk's office is working on that with the PrimeGov site. So hopefully that'll be up and running a little more efficiently the next time we meet. The only other thing I would say is that we, as far as we know, we'll be continuing virtually for the foreseeable future, but that could change at any point if the city decides to go back to in-person meetings, or if the governor's order that gives us the ability to meet virtually expires, you know, if there are changes at the state level for virtual meetings. So we will keep you all informed of any changes to the status of the meetings as those occur.
The only other thing, this is Laura, is we will be deciding next week if we have a meeting next month. We like to let you know as far in advance as we can so you guys can reschedule other meetings, because I know you're all busy. I currently do not have an individual application that's come in, but as you know, we're working on updating our sign regs. And I'm trying to remain as flexible as possible so that once it's ready to go, we can get that on an agenda for all the design review committees. So once again, welcome to our newest member. And it was nice having all 9 of you here. So I think that's it from the perspective of staff.
Thank you. Item number 7C, comments from committee members.
John, this is Scott Howard. I just wanted to congratulate you on finally getting to chair your first Riverfront Design Committee meeting. You did a great job. And I'd also like to welcome Ricardo.
I appreciate that, Scott. Comes a lot. That means a lot coming from the chairman emeritus. And I also just wanted to say, I know he's not here, but thank you so much to John Joyce for his years of service on this committee, and we'll miss having him around. Okay, our next meeting date, as Laura mentioned, is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, May 6th, assuming we get items to meet about. With that, we'll adjourn. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.